This is Beyond with Heather Tesch, where we examine near-death experiences and life itself, hopefully making this life a little better. Hello everyone, my guest today is Sharon Sananda Kumara. Sharon, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Heather. It's an honor to be here, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. It's an honor to hear your story. You died in such a dramatic way with your second near-death experience, so that alone is a lot. But then, of course, you had such a fascinating near-death experience. So I know you had two of them, but let's start with the second one. You can lead us into that, and then we'll return to the first one.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you. Yes. So this was in 2001, and I lived in San Antonio, Texas at the time. Now I'm on the West Coast in Oregon, and where I'm from. I lived in Texas 25 years, so I called myself a transplanted Texan when I was there. And Texas, I love Texas. Some girlfriends and I were going tubing down the Guadalupe River in New Braunfels, Texas. It was for a girlfriend's birthday. And we had a really good time on the river. So this happened at the end of the day, thank goodness. And we were going to get on a shuttle bus to go back to our cars. The outrigger that had driven us down the river picked us up at a different part of the river and was picking us up to drive us back to the parking lot or to the outrigger's property so we could get in our cars and leave from there. And it was one of these little school buses. We only hold 13 people, I think was the count on it. And I was standing in line to get on the bus first with my friends behind me. And I went to get on and I saw that the bus was full of people already. And they had just pulled up. And he had already picked these people up. And so something said, oh, I think I'll get off. Let's just get off and wait for the next bus. That's for the next time he comes around. Wait for the next time he comes around. And they were just like, come on, you can stand in the aisleway. So when I turned around to actually get off, there was a lot of people behind me besides my other four friends. And they're like, oh, just get on. So I did. So I went we piled on. I went to the back of the bus and I'm standing in the aisleway with my friends in front of me and some other people. It was packed. And so I'm not up against the back door, but I'm close to it. And as he's driving down the road, he shifts gears at one point, moving away from a traffic light. He's in second or third. I'm not sure which, but he's probably going 25 miles an hour or something like that. And he's jerking because the bus is kind of an old bus and it's a standard gear shift. And as he jerks me at one point, he's changing gears. I hit the back door. We're being thrown around and I hit the back door, the emergency exit, and it pops open and I fall out of the bus. Yeah. And I remember thinking, I can't believe I'm falling out of this bus. He's driving down the road and I'm falling out of the back of the bus. And so I fall onto the trailer hitch. I hit my back on the trailer hitch, and and he was pulling a trailer, one of those trailers that you haul equipment in and things like that. You know, like when people do yards, lawnmowers, lawn maintenance people, and it held all of our inner tubes in our ice chests. So he was pulling that. So I bounced onto in between the trailer and the bus and bounced onto the trailer hitch with my back. And I remember each bounce. And I bounce, and then I bounce onto the pavement again on my back underneath the trailer. I go underneath the trailer. And I bounce onto my side at that point when I go underneath the trailer. And I remember thinking, he's going to run over me. And I yelled in my head, stop, you're killing me. I knew at that point he was going to run over me. And he did. And the trailer ran over my head, right? Split second after I said that. Yeah. I didn't feel anything at that time. I just knew I was in panic mode, of course, when I knew that was going to happen. but I didn't feel it. I just popped out of my body at the second it happened, millisecond, whatever it is, because I knew he was going to do it. I just knew it. And I popped out of my body, and I remember popping through my head, and I'm floating above the scene that I'm looking at, or just came from, I'm looking at, and I'm floating above it. And I can see my body laying in the road, in the middle of the road, and he's still driving away. He doesn't know I've fallen out yet. And I see, and I remember seeing a big commuter bus, one of those big buses driving toward my body. And I'm thinking, I hope that bus doesn't run over my body, because that would make a big mess. Because my thoughts are, oh gosh, okay, well, it looks like I died. It did, not he, but it did kill me. I died, but I didn't have any fear or anything like that. It was just matter of fact. It was like I went from being there to being back home, but I didn't feel that thought. I didn't have that thought, but just I knew that I had died, because I had the intuition that I've done this many times, that we do this. That was my intuition. Oh, this is something that we do. And then my thought was, this is really going to put a damper on my friend's day, because we had such a really good time. And here I go. And I'm thinking this, here I go and die on him. That's going to really ruin their day.
That's so crazy, the things that people think during these near-death experiences.
I know, right? Yeah. And that made me feel bad for them, but it didn't want me to, I didn't want to go back or anything. It just made me feel bad for them. And I thought, yeah, that's really going to ruin the day for them. Gosh, because we really had a really fun day. And then I thought about my boyfriend. I thought about my boyfriend, and I thought, and as I was thinking about him, I knew that I could see, or had the information that I knew he would be okay. He'd be sad for a little while, but I knew he would be okay. We'd been together about 5 years. I knew he would be okay. He's my ex now, but and that's another story. But anyway, I'm kidding. I know. And then I thought about my sister, who was living in Washington at the time, and I was in Texas, and her family, and she has a family and a couple boys. And I thought, gosh, that's really going to affect her. But I knew intuitively, that she would be all right in the long run. And then I thought about my mom, because my mom was still on the planet. My stepfather, I forgot to mention, my stepfather had passed in 98, and this was 2001. And I really missed him, because we were really close. And so as soon as I thought about my mom, I feel a presence to my right and behind me. And I turned around, and I saw that it was my stepdad. And I didn't, I was kind of bored with what I was watching anyway. It didn't really, I was like, okay, this doesn't interest me that much anymore. And I felt that. So I turned around, felt my stepdad. My stepdad was standing there, standing there. And he said to me, "It's not your time." I was really happy to see him. He said, "It's not your time." And it was a telepathic communication. It was natural for me. It was natural for us to be communicating that way. And I remember communicating with him, and it was more in, not so much in words as, and it's hard to describe, but it was just a knowing that I didn't want to go back. I'm like, I don't want to go back. And coming back here, I remember it in words. But then as I'm in that space, when I go in deep, I remember that it was something that I intuited to him, I guess you could say, that I didn't want to go back. And he did. I don't recall him saying anything after that, but I felt a tunnel, or I felt movement again, and off to a little bit more to my right I saw a tunnel opening up, a portal, and I could see beings, these people lining up, starting to line up in the tunnel. And I knew them as my ancestors. Some of them I recognized from my earth life, and some I didn't. But I knew that they were my ancestors. I knew who they were. And I felt, oh, this is cool. I get to see my ancestors. But then I noticed that they weren't really joyful, like welcoming me home type of thing. Because I started having all this remembrance of what it's like to be welcomed. I expected them to welcome me home, kind of thing. But they didn't have that there wasn't that vibe from them. And I was moving toward it, and I felt my dad next to me, and I was moving toward it. And before I entered completely into the tunnel, and at one point, I don't know if I was in it or if I was in front of it, because it's all, how do I put it? It's all, it's not physical. So it's difficult to have that time and space type of awareness. Does that make sense? Okay.
It's hard for me to imagine, but
Yeah.
it makes sense what you're saying.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I don't know if, because we think of things in a physical way, where
Right.
we see a tunnel in a physical way, whereas this was not physical. So I can't say if I was in the tunnel, if I was at the opening of the tunnel, of the portal. I think portal is a better word for it. Or if I was submerged in it, or if I was on the outside of it. I can't really say. So as I'm approaching, or it seems like I'm going deeper into it, into this portal, I'll say that, I see a much larger portal, as big as the sun, I should say. If we're looking at the sky from a close range, the sun is bright and big as the sun. Okay. It was golden white, and it was super bright, and it's growing. And it didn't hurt my eyes. And you can't look at the sun here, but when I was there, we don't have physical eyes, so it doesn't hurt my eyes. And I was just gazing at this bright golden white sun, and I see a figure moving out of it toward me. And at that point, I have no awareness of my dad or the beings, being in the other tunnel. I'm just focused on this bright light, and I see this being walking, forming a body, moving out of it. And as he gets closer, I recognize him as Jesus, Yeshua, who I call Yeshua. I recognize him right away as soon as he gets closer, and I just recognize him. And and I fly to him. I pick up and I fly. By that time, I'd already been having out-of-body experiences, spontaneous out-of-body experiences. And so I was used to flying, but it was just natural for me just to fly to him. And
you're getting emotional.
Yeah, when I talk about it, I feel that I'm already got goosebumps. He embraces me. We embrace, and he tells me right away, it's not your time. And I intuit, and it's intuitively, and I intuit to him, but I want to stay with you. And in my heart and in my soul, I missed him. I knew that I missed him very badly. I was, if I could just share a little bit, I was raised Catholic, but I wasn't a good Catholic, I say, because I just didn't resonate with all the judgy stuff, right? That type of thing. My parents weren't good Catholics either. They were divorced when I was 6, and My mom, they were excommunicated from the church, and
Oh
things like
boy.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a lot of judgy stuff that,
Mm-hmm.
just didn't make sense to me. Although I knew that Jesus existed, I didn't have a close relationship with him. And I was, I partied. I was a partier. That's how I got through my life. And I was able to hold down a job and things like that and have a normal kind of life. But, but I, uh, I didn't have that. I had, I knew there was something spiritual within me that had a deep faith, but it wasn't outward. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
an outward type of the way I lived my life. So I knew that I knew him. I just knew him. And I knew that he was different than what we maybe are taught. Okay. That his message was all about love and that type of thing. I knew that. And so that's why I didn't resonate with a lot of the teachings in organized religion. So anyway, so I just want to put that out there about my background. And he tells me that it's not my time. I tell him I want to stay with him, and that's where I hear him laugh. It was like a chuckle, a laugh, and it was so beautiful. It was just so. It was just his presence was like a bomb. It was not like, but was a bomb to my soul. Just being there with him again.
I always love when I hear he has a sense of humor.
Yes, a very big sense of humor. Yes, and so at that point, he's in. I would like to preface this with I don't know when this happened because everything is happening all at the same time when you're there. Okay, when we're there, meaning in the inner realms. So to put this in perspective in a timeline, it's a little difficult, but I'm trying very hard to do that. How my memory is with it. At some point, as he's holding me, I feel that we merge. We merge our light bodies, our non-physical bodies merge, and I am filled with so much light, that I am so full of joy. I had the thought in my mind, if I smile any wider, my face is going to break because it was such a joyful feeling, a blissful feeling to be in that light. And I know that what he was doing was sharing God's light with me. And that's what helped. And I believe totally being in his presence and in that light is what helped me heal the physical body. And so I don't know how long I was there with him like that, in that moment of being in God's light and God's love. And it's nothing that we can compare here. I'm sure people I know NDEers I've heard have said that themselves, that it's really nothing we can compare here. We don't have that. We don't have the capacity here to hold that type of love within our physical bodies normally.
Right.
Yeah, that light, that love. So he asked me when, at some point, we became separate physical beings, separate personalities again. Okay, at some point, as we merge or demerge, and he asked me if I want to go on a journey with him, and I tell him yes, of course. He puts out his hand, and I hold his hand, and I remember distinctly feeling all the lines and crevices in his hand. It was just so intense to feel that.
So it was physical in that way?
It felt physical, but it wasn't physical. It felt physical. So he and we can project physical, the physical feeling. in the higher planes. That feeling, it's and I know in my travels, out of body travels, that it's more intense physically. Things can feel more intense physically, definitely, than here. And I equate, and when I recall that, equate our physical realm to wearing a glove around us, because we don't have the intensity here like we do in the inner realms of being able to feel senses. Our senses are more keen in the higher realms. They're it's just more intense things that we experience as we move into our higher inner realms. What I've remembered. So I just remember that, and just marveling at his his hand in my hand in his, and feeling the way his hand felt, and so instantly after those thoughts, because he knows what I'm thinking, he knows what I'm feeling, he knows all this. Instantly after that, as this is happening, we're flying through the cosmos, the night sky, I guess you could say, the cosmos, because it was dark except for points of light. And I've said this before, is that I don't know whether we were flying through the cosmos or the cosmos was moving through us. Because,
and what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that I've learned over the years that there is no time and space. That we are living in we're living in this illusion that we've created for ourselves, right? In these realms, this dimension we are projecting. We're projecting together. We're projecting individually, that type of thing, what we have within us, what we have going on from our inner world. And so as I became more clear and gathered more clarity with my near-death experiences, I realized, okay, so are we really moving through the cosmos? Or is this something that we are co-creating together as creating the feeling of movement? Is he creating that with me, that feeling of movement? Because I've seen visions of I've seen the Matrix. I know I'm getting off track here, but I've seen the Matrix in a grocery store while I was shopping. No drugs or alcohol were involved. And I've seen the Matrix. Everything fell away.
I thought you meant the movie, but you're talking about something.
No, I'm talking about the actual Matrix. I saw it. I was grocery shopping at HEB in San Antonio, and everything fell away. And this was after my NDE. I was meditating. I was doing, having out-of-body experiences and things like that. And everything, the whole scene around me fell away. And I could see the blue and green grid lines.
Wow.
I know. Yeah. It was about 3 seconds, which is long enough for me to say, okay, I'm really seeing this. So I realized that we were projecting everything. And I've had visions driving in my car, walking across the room, that I'm telling myself to walk across the room. I'm telling myself, I'm not really walking across the room. I'm not really driving my car. This is all projection from the huge holographic universe that we've created together, and that the God's mind, we're all part of God's mind, have created together to experience. So that's what I mean about moving through the cosmos, or is the cosmos moving through us? I hope that's kind of the long
It
answer,
does.
but I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. And sorry to interrupt. You can continue on.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. And so we're moving, I'm going to say moving through the cosmos. And in the distance, I see another bright light. And we move closer to it. And I realize that it's a portal, a light portal. And it's white. This is a white light portal. We move through the light portal. and I see a planet emerge. What looks like an orb, a planet around. It looks like a planet to me from my viewpoint. And we're hovering above it, and I realize, and all this is communication going on between him and I, and it's not words; it's just remembrance and feelings and those types of things. And I realize that this is a home planet for me, and it's a water planet. I see that the planet is covered with water from my perspective, what I could see, and I recognize this planet. And as we're hovering above the planet, I become one with the planet. I am the body of the planet. I am filled with so much. I realize that I am the body of the planet. I feel so much love. I'm the more than the body, the consciousness of the planet. I feel so much love for all the beings on my body, on this planet. So much love. Whew. And everything from, little amoeba to the sentient, the larger sentient beings. And I feel so much love for them. So I have this awareness of being one with the planet, and I can move my consciousness from the whole consciousness of the planet down to the tiniest microbe. I can move in and out with my awareness, moving, and it's crazy how to explain it, but I'm able to do that. I'm able to move back and forth to connect to any part of my body. We can do that with our physical bodies. We can, and I've done this in an out-of-body experience, so we can move inside our bodies with our consciousness and talk to and get a sense of what our cells are telling us, or what what we want to tell ourselves, that type of thing. Our organs, our blood, our system. We just forgot that we can do that. And Yesh will help me remember all this. And so, and then we're moving down further and further. This awareness is, I'm back to who I am. And this awareness, my awareness is moving down onto the planet. And we dive in. And I realize that I have a family here. I'm reunited with my family, with the water beings, and people have asked me this, what do they look like? They look, how do I put it? They have the fin, the tail fin. They have arms. They're human like, but they're also aquatic looking, and they're hard to describe. They're a color. Not all of them. They're the same color that I recognize, and they're a color that's the ones that I saw. My family were like a dolphin color, but lighter. Yeah, it reminds me of dolphins, and I did see dolphins. There's dolphins there too, and whales as well. They were my family.
Nice.
Yeah. So they have that skin type, but not thick like a dolphin. They're hard to describe. It's difficult for me to describe them. So I'm reunited with them. I also have a mate. I have children, and it's a home for me. And what Yeshua let me know as we're exploring is that I have the opportunity to always visit there if I want once I go back to my earth life. And he's slowly bringing me back to my earth experience, because I don't know how long I was there. I could have been there for a lifetime. I could have been there for 2 or 3 lifetimes. I just know that when I did come back to my earth life as Sharon, I was going there in meditation a lot. And it was really, really emotional for me. And it was my home. So they had to bring me back. I started making sounds like a aquatic being in my meditations and things like that. Yeah. So I didn't make those trips that much anymore, because it's extremely, it's a longing. And he let me know that once my mission is finished on Earth, that I can return there in physical form, physical awareness if I want to, anytime. Yeah. Not that being here isn't a choice, which it is. Yeah. And then the next thing I know, I have not had much memory of the returning back to my body, other than boom, I'm back in my body. And I jump up, run to the side of the road, and I was not, I didn't have nothing broken, no concussion. I had road rash on my legs. My hair was falling out. I have a bald spot. And I have muscle and tendon and ligament damage that I maintain, but nothing was broken. They teased me in the hospital that I had tire tracks across my head, and they had to glue my ear together because my ear was kind of messy. Parts of it in the top were separated, so they did that.
Wow, that is quite the experience. Sharon, I have so many questions about the planet and things you saw, but let's go ahead and take that into part 2.
Okay, sure.
Thanks so much for joining me on Beyond with Heather Tesch. That was part 1. Make sure to listen to part 2. And if you liked what you heard, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe for more episodes.